My name is Emily, and I'm 29 years old. I lived in the house that used to be my parents'. It wasn't anything fancy, but it was full of memories, birthday parties, quiet Sunday mornings, and late night talks. After my parents passed, my younger sister Megan and I stayed there together, at least. That's what most people believed. What almost no one knew was that the house was legally mine. Before they passed, my parents had updated the paperwork, making me the sole owner. They did it because I was the one who had taken care of them in their final years, handling the bills, driving them to appointments, putting my own life aside. But I never told Megan. I didn't want to stir up drama or make her feel excluded. Now that I look back, maybe that was where I went wrong. Megan had always been the unpredictable one, wanting everything on her own terms. Lately, she'd been spending time with a new guy who gave off a sketchy vibe. Her behavior had shifted. Barely held a job, went out partying constantly, and blew through money like it meant nothing. I knew something was coming, I just didn't expect what did. One night, while I was reading on the couch, Megan came storming into the living room. "I need $20,000, she said, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I looked up slowly. "What?" I asked. "I'm starting a business with Jason," she said, arms crossed. "He's got connections. This could make us rich. I just need your help alone." Alone? She hadn't even repaid the $500 she borrowed a couple months back. "Megan, I'm sorry. That's a lot of money. And I don't even know Jason. It's too risky," I said gently. Her face shifted. Her eyes narrowed. "So that's it? You'd rather watch me fail?" "No, I want you to be smart," I said. She didn't answer. She stood there, breathing heavily, then turned and walked off. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The next morning, I got up early as usual. I had a job interview that day, not anything big, just an office assistant role nearby. But I was excited. Things had been tough lately, and I needed a steady paycheck. I walked into the kitchen and froze. My suitcase was sitting by the door. For a moment, I thought maybe Megan was playing some kind of joke. But when I opened the fridge and saw that all my food was gone, my stomach dropped. That's when Megan walked in, wearing sunglasses and sipping iced coffee like nothing was wrong. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep calm. "You're leaving?" she said flatly. "Excuse me?" I blinked. "I gave you a choice. Last night, you chose not to help. Jason's moving in this weekend. We need the room." I just stared at her, speechless. "You don't get to make that call," I finally said. Megan stepped closer and smirked. "You're not the only one who lived here, Emily. I'm tired of you walking around like you own the place." I didn't say a word. I picked up my bag slowly and looked her straight in the eye. "You think this house is yours?" she asked, almost laughing. "You're just a mooch. You should be thanking me for letting you stay here this long." That was it. I walked out, not because I was weak, but because I had something she didn't, the truth. She had no clue the house was legally mine. My name was the only one on the deed. I kept it quite out of love, out of kindness. But now she had crossed the line, and she was about to learn what happens when you kick someone out of the house they actually own. I spent that night at a friend's apartment small, a bit cramped but warm. I couldn't sleep. Megan's voice echoed in my head, calling me a mooch, telling me to leave, kicking me out of the home I had kept running. I had fixed that house, cleaned it weekly, paid the bills when she was off partying. But I wasn't going to let it slide this time. The next morning, I pulled out a folder I'd kept for years labeled "House Documents, Private." I had grabbed it on my way out, just in case. Inside were the notarized, dated property transfer papers originals. My parents had made it clear the house was mine. Not ours, mine. They'd thanked me for the years I'd sacrificed. Megan wasn't. Even around when Mom got sick and still, I had never rubbed that in her face, never used it against her. But I now knew she would have done it to me in a heartbeat. I called the lawyer who'd helped my parents with the deed. Mr. Bennett, he was retired, but his daughter had taken over the firm. Within 24 hours, I was sitting in her office, explaining everything. You have full ownership, she confirmed, flipping through the papers. You're legally entitled to evict anyone or sell the house. Can I sell it immediately? I asked. She blinked, then smiled. Absolutely. I leaned back in the chair and breathed out, not because I felt powerful, but because I finally felt free. Megan had kicked me out thinking she was in charge. She had no idea she was living in a house that wasn't hers. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. But I knew she wasn't going to make that easy, and she didn't. I didn't go back to the house. I didn't call Megan. I didn't yell or explain. I just let her keep living comfortably in a home that was no longer hers. With the lawyer's help, I found a local buyer, someone looking to flip a property. He was offering cash and didn't care someone was still living there as long as I had the right to sell, and I did. We scheduled a walkthrough. I warned him about my sister, told him she might believe she's the owner. He just laughed. Not the first time I've heard that. We signed the papers on a Thursday. By Friday, the sale was final. Just like that, the house wasn't mine anymore. It belonged to him. Megan just didn't know it yet. That weekend, I went with the new owner to the house. He brought 2 movers and a sheriff's deputy just in case. We walked up to the porch, and Megan opened the door in pajamas, cereal bowl in hand. She squinted. What the hell is this? Hi, the buyer said politely. I'm the new owner. You'll need to be out by the end of today. Megan laughed. What are you talking about? This is my house. I stepped forward, calm. No, Megan, it never was. It was mine, and I just sold it. Her bowl slipped and shattered. You're lying. I shook my head. The documents are all in order. The house has a new owner. You need to leave today. She screamed, insulted me, called the police. We let her. When they arrived, the officer reviewed the paperwork and said calmly, You've been trespassing, ma'am. You need to pack and leave. In that moment, seeing her confusion, rage, and fear, I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt nothing. She had kicked me out without a second thought. I returned the favor with a signature. She left the house eventually, but not quietly. She cried, cursed, called me cruel, jealous, unstable. She accused the buyer of forgery until the officer showed her the court-verified papers. She left with just a duffel bag, abandoning boxes, shoes, and even framed photos from her parents. She didn't say goodbye. I hadn't expected her to. The buyer thanked me for a smooth sale and handled the rest. As I walked away for the last time, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace, but I wasn't finished. That night, I opened my laptop and wrote it all out, not to shame her. I didn't use names. I just needed to release it. I titled the post, My Sister Kicked Me Out of My Own House, so I sold it without telling her. It was meant to be just a vent on a personal justice blog. By morning, it had over 8,000 shares. Within a week, a local news outlet reached out. They kept names and places private and let me share my story in my own words. The comments were intense. Some called me cold. Others said I'd waited too long. Most were amazed at how calm I stayed. Megan saw it too. I knew because she messaged me, You humiliated me. I never said your name. You made me look like a joke. No, I replied. You did that all by yourself. She never replied again, but someone else did. A man named Michael emailed me. He'd read the post and was dealing with a similar situation. We ended up talking for 2 hours. Funny how things fall apart and come together at once. While my life began to settle, Megan's fell apart. She ended up crashing with Jason, but it didn't last. He kicked her out after she couldn't pay rent. Or maybe he found someone else to use. Either way, she was couch hopping, leaning on strangers. Then the biggest twist. One morning, I got a call from the lawyer's office. Emily, something odd came up during the post-sale review. You'll want to come in. They showed me a forged document one I had never signed. It was dated 6 months before the sale, and it attempted to add Megan's name to the deed. My heart sank. She tried to claim ownership. Yes, the assistant said. The stamp didn't verify. We believe it was fake. We filed a police report with full legal support and documentation. Within days, Megan was arrested for attempted property fraud and forgery. Her mugshot wasn't public, but word spread. Neighbors whispered, friends pulled away. She lost every illusion of control. I got a restraining order. She couldn't contact me anymore. For the first time in years, I didn't have to look over my shoulder, and yet, karma wasn't done with her or with me. A few weeks later, I received a letter from a bank I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was junk. Then I saw the names, Henry and Patricia Callahan, my parents. Inside was notice of an untouched safety deposit box. I was listed as the only beneficiary at the bank. I opened it. Inside was an envelope, yellowed with age, with a letter from my mother. If you're reading this, she wrote, it means life pushed you to walk alone. You always carried everyone without asking for anything. This is our thank you. Beneath the letter was a cashier's check, $50,000. I cried. They had saved this for me. That day, I walked out not just with money, but with something deeper, closure. I wasn't the weak older sister Megan painted me as. I was the one who held everything together. That money started something new, my online shop. I dreamed of it for years. I used it to build something truly mine. When I signed the business papers, I whispered, thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. I finally understand. 6 months later, I was living in a small but sunlit apartment overlooking a peaceful street. My store was growing. I sold handmade journals and self-care boxes. Orders trickled in. I packed them with care. As for Megan, she was out of jail. I didn't know where she was. I didn't care. We were strangers now. Not because of hate, but because I had no space left for destruction. The restraining order was still in place. One night, as I packed orders, a text came in from an unknown number. I hope you're happy. I didn't reply. Because I was the Emily who stayed silent to keep peace. She was gone, and her place was someone stronger, someone finally free. This wasn't a story of revenge. It was a story of reclaiming power, of knowing when silence is strength and when it's time to walk away. That night, I stood on my balcony, tea in hand, watching the sky burn orange and gold. A breeze brushed past me like a whisper from the past. I smiled because in the end, I didn't just lose a house. I found my life,